Hey, we're on. Here we are, Console Shock. It's episode 14. God, we've got through 14, Stu. Can you believe that?
That's pretty amazing. That's really good.
It's only a week ago we did the last one, wasn't it? It was spoiling people at the moment. Our 12.
I know, doing them a week apart. That's.
I think we need to cut down a bit. Don't think people are going to get high expectations of this stuff. So, yeah.
Well, do you know what? You can spoil people with a good thing, can't you?
I suppose, yeah. They can't get enough, can they? Who are we kidding? So, yeah, so thanks for listening again, guys. So, yeah, obviously it's me and Stu as usual. We're a bit different this week, though. Normally we pick a console, don't we, normally? And we chat about it and, talk about the games and all that stuff and all our memories. But this time we've got a couple of guys that we're very fond of, their output on YouTube and, we'll just say produce there. That might sound a bit dodgy.
Produce.
Yeah.
They got high produce value.
We love their produce, and yeah. So it's the guys from the Retro Hour, an awesome podcast on iTunes. So hi. Oh God, Stu, you're already here. I'm going to say hi to you again.
Yeah.
Hi Dan. Hi Ravi from the Retro Hour.
How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting us.
I'm sure you're blown away by the high production value of Let's All Go on a Hangout, stream it to YouTube.
Oh, we actually hear that Hangouts are better quality than Skype, so that's good.
Yeah, it does sound nice.
It's sounding pretty good. It's sounding quite good, isn't it? I have to say. It saves uploading it and like downloading it and uploading it like you would have to do with like Audacity or something would be the old school way from a few years ago.
Well, we do a
That's
podcast.
it, yeah.
We actually record our show in. I work in radio, so we do it in our studio there. So we have like.
Dan, you just ruined my first question. You just ruined my first question.
Well, I was going to say it makes a change to be doing this and actually, sitting in my Christmas onesie tonight. It's quite nice.
All right, you give too much info there, Dan. Stu, you've got clothes on this time, right, Stu?
I've got socks on.
A smile. Anyway, scared everybody off now from our audience. So what we're going to do, so a bit different to what we normally do. We're just going to, fire a few questions at you guys. We obviously, we listen to the Retro Hour every week on a Friday. You guys bring it out, and you've had some amazing guests on there. I don't know how the hell you land these people, but we also watch your individual YouTube channels. So do you guys just want to go through just, what exactly you guys do with your YouTube channels and the Retro Hour, just for the people that are listening that might not know?
Yeah, Dan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I started on YouTube probably must be knocking on for about 10 years ago now. Yeah, I think probably about 2008 I started doing it, and it was really, it was just to do Amiga videos. Amiga was always my favorite platform growing up, and I kind of got out of gaming and stuff for a few years when I went to university and discovered like alcohol and girls and that kind of thing. But then got back to my
that's boring.
Yeah, got back to my geeky roots, and picked up a camera, decided to do a couple of videos. Turned out they were quite popular. That was back in the days when you could actually get viewers on YouTube if you were a newcomer. And then Ravi actually lived in Nottingham, and he did like some videos as well. And then, as it turns out, I ended up moving up here. Ravi and I actually spoke online, just kind of YouTube comments and that for probably about a year until we realized we'd actually live around the corner from each other.
Yeah, we didn't ask where each other had lived. So
yeah. So then we just kind of started. Met up with a few other guys that were into gaming and stuff as well. Had like regular gaming nights. We'd go out, a couple of bottles of Jack Daniels on the go, plenty of games. And then it was about a year ago actually we decided that audio podcasting seemed to be making a bit of a comeback, and as you guys probably know, doing audio week in, week out is a lot easier than editing like video. And also it's better for like long form audio too. So we decided to start a podcast up in January, and we've been doing it almost a year now.
Cool.
That's kind of where we've come from.
It's funny because we're just saying that's how I met Stu. It was kind of stalked him on Facebook and in a nice way. And then we ended up doing this. So yeah, kind of funny how you meet people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally crazy. Like when we were messaging, it was just like, oh, you love Amiga this much. I didn't know there was someone else that loves it this much. And he's like, yeah, just down the road, 15 minutes. It's like, what? Really weird.
Yeah. Can't shake me off now.
Yeah, then we got drunk for about a year until we decided to do anything together. Yeah.
You got that out of your system, and then you thought, let's do some work. Yeah.
We had a trip to Amsterdam for the Amiga's 30th anniversary out there as well.
Yeah, God, I saw that. I would have loved to have gone to that.
Oh, it was awesome.
That was your first show, wasn't it, Dan? Or your first big one?
Yeah, probably first retro show that I'd been to. I went to Replay in Wolverhampton, but so, I mean, I'd watched a lot of videos of people going to retro shows and all that, but I'd never been to any before. So Ravi's like, "Oh, you got to come along." You know, it's. I think back then, though, usually it was about like 5 old ladies in a church hall or something.
Yeah.
The one in Amsterdam was huge, though, and you know, just hanging out with the guys from Amiga and Commodore. We actually had a little a cruise with champagne, and RJ Michael was on there and Dave Haney and stuff. So.
Wow.
It was like 400 people at the event. It was pretty busy.
That's insane. I mean, it's funny because, like, you might have seen when we sort of chucked you some of our, I think we showed you one of our old video podcasts that we did. Yeah. We actually had an episode where we actually went to Eurogamer. Steve, you'll probably remember that. I don't think you came because you were working.
No, I wasn't invited to that one. No.
And we told you that we just went. You know, we could get you an invite.
You got press passes though, didn't you?
Yeah, because it was funny because we thought that'd be mega hard to get. It'd be like some kind of like, you know, a bunch of forms. You got to pay them like some kind of fee. But we just like, oh, if you want a press pass, email here. And we did that, and we got them. We're just some numpties that have a couple of videos on YouTube, but we got that press pass. And yeah, it was good. It was 2013. It was basically when the new consoles were coming out, so we got to play Xbox One and PS4. You know, it was only about a couple of months before they came out, but. It was great. I mean, the moment for me that was awesome, and I regret not really acting on it, was I saw Ashens in the press lounge. Yeah, Stuart Ashen. It was there was like a press lounge where you could just go in and you could get a glass of water and sit down and relax before you head out and do whatever you're going to do. And yeah, he was there. And Malcolm, the chap who was with us, who was filming us, he went up to him, and I was just like, "Oh, he won't want to talk to us." But he had a good little chat with him, and I was like, "Yeah, it's one of my life regrets."
I'll have to watch that.
I think you find that with shows as well. I mean, you know, we've been going to about 2 or 3 a year now for the last couple of years. We also do that Replay and Play Expo in, you know, Manchester and Blackpool, and it's just hanging out. I mean, we're walking around the one in Manchester a few months ago, you know, chatting to like Jeff Minter and John Hare and guys like that. And
that's amazing.
They're all just up for, you know, hanging out with you, and you know, it's a really nice atmosphere at them.
Yeah, they seem like cool guys. They're not like, oh my god, who are these weirdo like fanboys? Are they like, hey guys, how's it going? They're like really welcoming. And
I think I'm always worried about that. You know, do you want to come over as oh, you know, I love your show. Hello.
Yeah, I think it's a nerd that's obsessed with them or something.
Yeah, as soon as you go out drinking with them, then it all deteriorates.
Yeah.
So basically get them drunk and they'll warm to you. That's kind of the key.
Yeah, that's it.
But you did mention an interesting point about the fact that, you know, that they are often quite open to talking to fans. I mean, you mentioned before, you know, how we get guests for our podcast, and a lot of the times it's as simple as just dropping them a message. Do you want to come on? And they're like, yeah, I'm up for that.
Sorry, go on, yeah.
I was just saying, you've got amazing guests on there.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead, Ravi.
I was just saying, you just hammer them basically. Like we've had a few people that have helped us out. So a guy called Paul Jury who works at Retro Gamer.
Yeah, you had an interview with him. Yeah.
In the first place, and my dad used to do gaming festivals in Nottingham.
Oh wow!
So we had a load of contacts through that. But mainly, it's just absolutely hammering on Twitter or Facebook, or just saying, you know, making them feel like we're really into them, so they want to come on the show, and you know, trying to get that across. That's the key.
Yeah. Or holding back how much you're really into them, so you don't scare them off as well.
Yeah.
But again, when you get one of them on, you know, generally, if you want to find someone else who was into making video games around the same time, there's a good chance the person you've just interviewed will probably know them as well and be able to put you in touch. So it kind of snowballs from there.
So I guess you could reference someone
as well. He's just promoting at the moment for us, like crazy.
Right.
Yeah, Mev Dink's been amazing.
So it helps if you get one person on the go and you can say, hey, we interviewed, you know, so-and-so last week, you know, he told us to get in touch with you. And I suppose that kind of means you're not, it removes the stalker weird, you know, who is this fanboy element a little bit as well.
And a lot of the time, a bit of rivalry too, like we had, you know, obviously we had John Hare on, then we got in touch with Mike Montgomery, like my brother said, oh, John Hare was on, and they were kind of old rivals back in the day. It's like, right, well, I'm coming on as well.
Oh, God, I mean, for me and Stu, John Hare would be like a god because Sensible Soccer is my all-time favourite video game, and so I'll be like, I wouldn't be able to talk to him. I'll just like probably scream in his face or something. It'll still be worth it for that though. But yeah, no, we're thinking about getting more guests on, like yourselves, who are kind enough to sort of, you know, agree. So I guess we'll just to sort of harass the hell out of people.
Yeah, and it kind of snowballs. You know, once you get some more come on, and it's kind of good going to these shows as well because you get to bump into everyone there, and you can be like, oh, pop on the podcast in person.
That's another way of doing it. Yeah.
Because Trevor, I think we should just knock on people's door and literally turn up at their houses with a microphone and just record it there and then.
We've been trying to get Matt Smith on, actually, and apparently that's the only way you can get Matt Smith on is to literally rock up at his house and knock on the door.
Yeah, he's a bit of a quirky one. Yeah, he's a bit. I think it kind of sort of like really devastated him, didn't it? Kind of he got pummeled with like fame and like and all that stuff, and he kind of ruined him a little bit. I think he's kind of okay now, but
yeah. We first when my dad did this video games festival, we got Matt Smith to come for one of the first times after he'd been missing for ages, and he was in a bit of a state when he arrived, but you could tell he had such a passion when he was like talking about Manic Miner. You could tell he was so into it, but I think business had just destroyed him pretty much.
Yeah, well, because he's too young, wasn't it? It was sort of what happened there, I think. But
he's one of the earliest, wasn't he? So.
Absolutely,
He did go into hiding for a few years. I remember in the early 2000s, there was a website, wasn't it, like findmattsmith.com or something it was called?
Yeah. Where is Matt Smith?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I think also because it was before there was kind of like as well, there would have been like a limbo period, I guess, when the games hadn't been around long enough for people to sort of get nostalgic and want to seek them out for interviews and all that stuff. So I can imagine he kind of disappeared during that sort of spell. And then when everybody started, remembering Manic Miner, they were like, "Oh, remember the guy that made it?" And probably brought him out a little bit, which is good. But yeah, he was in the Bedrooms to Billions, wasn't he? So I think he's fairly receptive these days, it seems.
Yeah. They said they had to go down and meet him, but they got him to his old arcade, which was like really good place in his memories. So he was really happy talking there.
Yeah.
Talking about Bedrooms to Billions, I think I've told Trevor this before, but it's a bit of a sad story actually. A guy came into my shop and I can't remember his name, but he run Probe in the UK. And
Douglas McGovern's company.
That's it, yeah. And he came in, he was chatting to me, and he said, "Oh, I made this game, I made this game, I made that game." And I was, to be honest, at first I was a little bit dismissive. I was like, "Oh God, who's this game? This guy who's just come in and told me he made all the games in my shop. That seems a little bit odd." And so I was chatting away to him, and actually, everything seemed to add up. And of course, I think recently he died, unfortunately.
Earlier this year.
So it was Fergus McGovern himself. It wasn't. It was actually him. Wow.
It was him, and then going back and watching Bedrooms to Billions, I saw him. That's the guy that came into my shop. I was chatting away to him, and he was showing me Mortal Kombat on the Mega Drive and all these games. He had a hand in sort of publishing and making and converting and everything. And it was, God, and I was actually a little bit. I wish I gave him a little bit more time, and it sounds awful, but
well, you don't know what's going to happen, do you? But God, if I met him, I'd be like, "Hey, big fan of the Amiga conversions of Mortal Kombat. Good job there, mate."
And he was like a multi-millionaire as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we had that with Dave Needle. He was going to come on the show.
Oh,
we were
God,
talking.
Yeah, he made
he
Amiga.
passed away. So.
Yeah. That'd been a double whammy for me because I'm a big Atari Lynx fan. I think he was involved in the making of and the 3DO, wasn't it? Oh, 3DO and Lynx and Amiga. He did
and he started from just organising stuff at the factory as well. So he was kind of on a low level, kind of cleaning up, sorting out job, and he went all the way to the top. So.
We would have had some stories.
Yeah.
Well, it's like RJ Michael as well. We've met RJ, several times now, and he's such a lovely guy. But just trying to get him to sit down for an interview for more than 5 seconds, he's all over the place. Attention spans like a goldfish.
You can see that, can't you? Like Doc Brown in Back to the Future. It kind of reminds me of.
Like the most excitable granddad you've ever met.
That's how he introduced himself on stage. The most excitable granddad. Right, Stuart, you got the next one for the guys?
Yeah, I've got a few questions for you. So we can go back and forward between myself and Trev.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you've already sort of answered it, but your podcast production is a very sort of high quality. So what is your guys' sort of background? I mean, is it in radio or podcasting or?
Well, there is kind of both of that, really. I mean, Ravi's got a background in audio engineering, and I've worked in radio production and presenting, for about 15 years now. So, together, the audio quality and the production values are something that we kind of prided ourselves in, from day one. Often we get comments of people saying when they listen to our podcast, it actually sounds like it could be, they forget they're listening to a podcast and it could be a show on like the radio or something, which to us is a massive compliment.
No, totally. Yeah, I agree.
Totally, and that's to me is podcasting is it's almost. I used to love listening to the radio, but I found with radio you get 4.5 minutes on a subject. You'll be getting into it, and then of course then it goes now into the news, now into the weather, now we've got a travel update. There's been a wicket in the cricket, and it's almost with podcasts and yours especially. It's we're talking about a subject here for a good half an hour, 45 minutes, and we just get really into the bottom of it, really.
It's really funny, actually, because my dad is actually a broadcaster. Funnily enough, wasn't sure if I'd mention it or not, but yeah. So he's got that classic kind of radio voice and everything. He used to be on Radio Caroline and some of the pirate ships in back in the day. And then it was funny because in the 90s, when I was sort of 8, 9, 10, early 90s, he did a segment he was on a local radio show in Essex where I grew up. They did a video game segment. I think they saw like sort of Games Master, and I thought, let's do a little 15-minute game review thing. And my dad somehow, got involved with it. And the great thing was they got a reviewer on, a chap who's weirdly on Sky Sports News now. He's like one of the reporters from like games, weirdly. But yeah, he was a video game journalist in the 90s. And the great thing was he used to get review copies of games. And in those days, I had a NES. So he would get like copies of NES games to review. But he didn't want them. It was like, he would just give them to my dad. Obviously, my dad knew that I had a NES. Probably kind of, coerced him into doing it a little bit.
This will save me money, he's thinking.
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And it was like Kirby's Adventure, and which I'm really regretting that I got rid of that now, because that is quite a difficult game to get now, cheap. But yeah, they were boxed. And it wasn't even really they were retail copies, but I got a few Mega Drive games that were literally mainly from Codemasters that were in these weird, bulky review cartridge cases. But yeah, for me, it was like dreamland. I was getting all these games chucked to me. I had about 30
Trevor,
NES.
they'd be worth thousands now, mate. Review copies of NES games.
I've still got the Mega Drive ones. I've got a couple of Game Gear review copies. The ones that I really regret are Gargoyle's Quest for the NES and Kirby's Adventure. Gargoyle's Quest is very difficult to get hold of in a box. It's a weird game. It's like, I think it's a sequel to Ghouls and Ghosts, but you play a bad guy in it. You play one of the gargoyles in it. I think it's Ghouls and Ghosts. People are going to go crazy at me in the comments and we'll get that wrong. But yeah,
Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts. One or the other.
Yeah, and it was so I had that. I had a box copy, and I was one of those kids that I would make sure everything was pristine. I'd put them in little plastic bags. So, but yeah, I swapped it all for a Mega Drive.
I was back in the days. I was a very naughty pirate, so we completely copied it. And, hang with all the Fairlight people.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Guys, I've got a quick question. Now, when I was a lot younger and I was in my teens, I'm 36 now, I used to put adverts into the back of Amiga Power saying contacts wanted and sending lists of games to people all over the country, and then we'll sort of send each other copied games. And
you're willing and dealing even then, Stu.
Well, there's all copied games. You're just trying to get as many games as you could, really, for little or no money.
Well, originals were like 40 quid as well, or 30 quid. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, I think I've got to know quite a few sort of nice people, and, get a little parcel with, 10 games in, and then you'll copy them around school, and then someone else will ask you for some of your games, and you'll send them off to someone else. And
it's funny because one thing we try and cover is like the piracy as well as the games company. So we've had both sides on.
But I think definitely, computer pirates probably, kept the jiffy bag industry going in the early 90s.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's weird because my first experience with Amiga, I was really, really late to the game. I was never able to afford one as a kid because it was always hovering around sort of £200. My parents had this kind of £100 maximum spend that I could normally get for a Christmas or a birthday on a console or something. So I was kind of stuck in 8 and sort of 16-bit consoles. But then a mate just was getting rid of his Amiga, and he said, I'm actually looking for a Mega Drive. So I've actually just mentioned that I got a Mega Drive. I'll swap my NES for one. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll swap you mine. And I got the way better deal because I had about 9 games and an extra controller. It was a Mega Drive 1, and he gave me basically an Amiga 500 Plus. This is in 1995, so again, really, really late to the game. The Amiga was in its dying basically was died, I think, really officially by that time.
Yeah.
By a good year. But it had this big old box of just like discs that had the names of the games written on them by hand. I thought it was just like maybe the label had rubbed off the original one. I didn't know anything about the piracy kind of aspect. So I put these games in. Yeah, I know. I feel so ashamed now. I could have just like pretended, oh yeah, I knew all about it. But yeah, I'd put these discs in and have these like really funky, ridiculous intros. I didn't understand what they were. And I was like frantically hitting all the buttons on the keyboard, trying to like,
what have I done?
Yeah, what is this thing? And it turns out it was like the right mouse key was the one that would skip past it.
They all had different buttons, and some of them had cheats on and
trainers and stuff. Yeah,
they were really good.
They would look better than like the actual title screen that you were trying to load up. Like Fairlight, especially there's amazing.
They crammed that amazing music into like 20K or something as well to start the disc in the boot block. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's like, well, why aren't these people making these games? But yeah,
it's interesting that you interesting you joined it in 1995 because that's when Worms just came out. So like the Amiga was dying everywhere, but Worms still came out and it was still had a little bit of life left.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting Amiga format at that point, which was still pretty good. It was still over 100 pages, I think. And I was still I was a member of me and Stu talked about it on a previous show. I don't know if you've heard, but Special Reserve, this mail order catalog used to advertise everywhere. And they used to they had a huge box of Amiga games, and I was still getting like Mortal Kombat 2. I remember got that box, still got it.
Discount, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It was so in terms of as a consumer, it was still plenty of stuff to play, and there was this huge backlog that I'd been dumped with this big box of copied discs, and so it was an interesting like introduction, and but yeah, we'll get more into that probably a little bit later, but yeah.
I think even for me, now looking at X-Copy, that is probably the most nostalgic.
Oh, X-Copy, yes.
Yeah.
I probably spent more time looking at X-Copy than anything else.
Yeah.
Watching the blocks kind of populate on the other disc was just like,
don't go red, don't go red.
Yeah, right. It was going to do it.
One Christmas when I got my second disc drive, how much easier it made my life.
But then the game started coming on like 15 discs in the end, didn't they? Like Rise of the Robots and Monkey Island 2.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, it was like, it was only really I guess you could get more RAM, couldn't you, as well? So that could like load more into memory off a disc or something.
Mm-hmm.
So Street Fighter 2 would be a bit less painful, wouldn't it? It'd be like maybe one less disc swap.
Stripped down versions as well. So they had like hacked versions that were on 2 discs instead of 4.
They're like
really weird
algorithms, wasn't it? They would use that would compress the data. So it was again, why are these people making these games? Not just like, so we've got another one then to chuck at you. So YouTubers who influenced you. So who were you kind of watching and thought, you know what, I want to do that as well?
Steve Benway, I'd say. Was a massive guy early on.
Yeah.
He had every system, and he'd play games really badly, but he'd also play really odd games.
Yeah, and it was really later recorded off the TV. It wasn't like streamed through an emulator. It was literally him with a big old camcorder, just sat plunked in front of the telly, scan lines.
But it'd be every day, he'd release for like, there was a while he was releasing every day for about a year. It was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he's toned it down a little bit, isn't he? I think he's doing a university degree, isn't he, or something, which is a shame. Well, good for him, but it's a shame he's not getting all the videos.
But it was the Friday talkies he did as well. I used to love
I love that.
Those.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, I mean, me and Stuart were talking earlier about, maybe he's someone we could get on the show, but he can be a bit grumpy. Like, he has whole videos of things that he doesn't want people to comment, or like, why I don't like the NES and Master System. So I'm sick of the comments,
He's got a priceless laugh as well.
He has, he has. Yeah, it's infectious.
Yeah, I think it was similar for me. Obviously, Steve Benway, and AVGN. I think everyone watched him.
Yeah.
Other YouTubers as well.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, I was at LGR as well. Been a big fan of him. We had him on our show actually not long ago.
Yeah, Clint. Yeah, he's awesome.
Really interesting guy.
Have you ever seen one called OS First Timer?
Yes.
Yeah, the Australian guy.
He gets his mum to go on all these different OSs. It's great.
It's quite cool. It's like to go and try and open the internet and stuff, isn't it? And you see how it's actually quite cool as a study to see how kind of user friendly operating systems are. Because there's a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, Macs are more user friendly." I'm like, well, you sit your grandmum in front of the PC and a Mac. She's not going to intuitively go over to the Mac and start, opening the internet and doing pages. They'll both be completely,
And he'll put some weird systems on there as well. He'll be like, "This is Unix from like 1970."
Yeah, here you go, Michelle.
Yeah. And most of this stuff he wasn't even born for it. I think he's barely around for like Windows ME, so it's kind of cool that he's into that. Any others, guys?
I like Lawn Boy's Post as well, 1975. He did some really interesting.
He's good, yeah.
Yeah, Dave's got a good channel.
Actually, Paul is the best as well. I used to watch him really early on. Paul is the best 3K. He's really funny.
What's that like? Steve and Steve Benway, is that like that, or is it?
He kind of does game reviews, Spectrum stuff. He does
mainly drunk
stuff. Yeah, quite a lot of drunk stuff. But stuff like the music from Skyboxes. He'll record all the music that was broadcast and like put that out and stuff.
Someone needs to do it.
Yeah. Did you call Steve Benway doing a drunk Shenmue series, which is quite interesting.
Has he done one?
Yeah, he did. He's literally as you know, that's one of my favorite games of all time. Although Stu hates it because I guess you haven't got
it is an awful game though. Shenmue. Oh my god, it's just.
I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, he did like a series where he was drinking and he was just playing it. And he was just like, it's so hilarious and stuff. He's like basically just like mouthing off at the screen while he's playing it, which is quite cool. But yeah.
A mad one with Paul where people were like hiding. They were going to his local woods and they were like digging holes and putting games in the holes and then hiding them for him. And he'd go and have a drink and film himself looking for this stuff in the woods and be like, "Oh, there's the Nez under this tree." It was great.
There's another really
original.
Another really interesting guy that I've watched for years as well, Retro Gamer VX. Don't know if you've seen his channel.
No. Actually, I might. It's always in my who you should look at. I've never actually done it. But
he's like he gets like mainframes and builds them in like his basement and stuff like that. He's got the most insane like collection of stuff. I think he's actually got it's one of those Quantel paint boxes they're called. He's actually got the original machine they used to do the TV graphics on Nightmare. The TV show.
Oh well, yeah.
He's actually got that setup that the BBC or ITV used to use in his house at the moment. He's trying to get it like restored and working.
Wow, so that's the thing that would sort of badly sort of chroma key like 8-year-olds over a sort of checkerboard or something.
Yeah,
like where the hell
millions back in the day.
Yeah, well, it looked amazing, didn't it? It was like sort of like Tron almost. Yeah,
good Christmas party game to have at home.
Play Nightmare with the family.
YouTubers I'm watching at the moment, and Nostalgia Nerd, he's very good.
He's good. Yeah. Lots of Amiga stuff and comedy stuff. Yeah,
Kim Justice.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Trying to get a hold of Kim actually to get on the show, kind of pummeling the Twitter account, but hopefully we'll be able to get Kim on. But yeah, great, really good long form, like almost documentaries.
Yeah,
better than some of the real sort of stuff. Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Now I actually got a shout out on your channel, on your podcast. So I think I sent you a link about Tecmo and about the HD VHSs or something.
Oh yeah.
And then so I was well chuffed. Got a shout out on the podcast.
That was a really cool story as well.
Yeah,
me and Stu are big sort of weird video format fans. I think we both collect Laserdiscs. So yeah.
Oh, it's great seeing HD footage from back then, and kind of seeing that quality, like when they go through Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's like 99, isn't it? Yeah.
Insane.
Well, so for me, growing up as well, when I was at school, I used to be in like school video club on the night. We'd make films and we'd go to video festivals and that kind of thing. So I've always been really into, video production and that too. So yeah, I'm quite looking at the moment to get into Laserdisc collecting. Ravi and I have been looking at that recently. So I'm not sure how much the players are though. Are they expensive?
You know what's funny? I actually bought. I had I'm going to be really nerdy and to give out some model names that you might want now. I had one called a CLD 1450, which in the 90s was like mid-90s was like sort of a £500 job, which would have been like cheap for a Laserdisc, which is amazing when you think about you could double that now, not in today's money. But that broke unfortunately a couple of years ago. I put Reservoir Dogs in. I was just watching it with my girlfriend, and a large scraping sound started occurring, which is rather scary. Yeah, and it basically died. It just stopped. I think like the sort of thing that clamps the disc down, it kind of got wonky or something. But yeah, but that died, and I just bought a new one actually today. Funnily enough.
Where'd you pick up Laserdiscs? Like car boot sales, or where'd you find them? I've never seen them about.
Yeah, to be honest, eBay. I mean, I know it's the one that's really eBay, but it's still a bit of a stage of being. When I started collecting in the mid-2000s, there was pretty much a fire sale going on. You could get really good copies of things for about a couple of quid, and it's not too bad now. It's gone up a little bit, about £4 or £5 for your average film, but still not too bad in terms of collecting. The players you're probably looking to get a good one, because it's not so much the cables that determine the quality of the picture; it's the actual player itself. And there's like things like comb filters and things like that that sort of help sort of produce the picture coming out the back of the laser display. So anything by Pioneer, basically, it's sort of late 90s is what you're looking for. There's one that does DVDs and laserdiscs called a CLD 919 or 909.
Oh wow!
It's okay, but the laserdisc bit is a bit naff. But yeah, it also does both. It does both sides, so you can sit back and watch an entire film without having to pop over and take the disc out and flip it over, which is like the sort of the nightmare thing that you have a laserdisc. Titanic's on 4 bloody discs.
Well, now before we started recording, we were talking about kind of obscure formats, and I mentioned I got into collecting HD DVDs before the Blu-ray war was won. But I do have quite an affinity for these kind of obscure and failed platforms. I think they're quite fun to explore.
Have you still got the HD DVDs? You sort of
I have, yeah. Well, I got the player for the Xbox 360, the external drive.
Yeah, I see them on eBay. There's always something. I've got one of them.
Yeah. I paid about 300 quid for it, I think, when it came out, and I've got about 3 of them now. I normally get them free every time I get an HD DVD. It comes.
Like you pay less for the drive now; they do it for bloody discs. But
I got an HD DVD for about £1, and it came with one of the players. So
you can still get them from because I source a lot of my sort of PS2 games and stuff. I want to sort of there's something I'm after for the collection from actually CEX. Funnily enough, they still sell like HD DVDs. If you go on there, they're like 50p. They're still trying to get rid of them, so
cheaper than DVDs.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't know how many were out. Ultimately, it must be about 300 or 400 or something. I think ultimately got sold.
It was only around about a year, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it got killed pretty quick. So anyway, moving on to the next one. We've already touched upon it a little bit when you've been talking about how you sort of get hold of guests. But was there a guest that you really thought, we're going to go for it, but I don't think we're going to get this person on, but you did?
Ravi knows.
Yeah.
I
think there's quite a few, actually. Tom Kalinske was one.
Yeah, Tom Kalinske. Without
yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, was that just Twitter again? Was it?
Yeah, it was kind of just through Twitter, and he replied straight away, and it was mad. And we just kind of said follow us, and he did, so we could direct message him. It just went from there, but we were just like over the moon. And we've had a few people recently that we're talking to that we're just blown away with as well.
Lord British we had on as well, didn't we?
Yeah. That was Richard Garriott. That's crazy. But Jim Sachs was also really hard to get on. And
the artwork he did was amazing. Yeah.
You chat to a lot of these guys, though, especially the ones that are still kind of not active in it. And a lot, if they haven't done many interviews before, or for maybe like 20 years, a lot of them are like, really, people are still interested in that kind of thing. There's a couple of guests we're working on at the moment that we know would be really big, but they're kind of a bit and erring, like they're not sure anyone will be bothered. And we're like, dude, they are. People would love to hear your story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we've got thousands of people wanting to listen to it, and they're like, oh, does anybody care? It's like,
it's weird, isn't it? It's hard for us to believe. Yeah.
Well, to be honest, for me, a lot of the people you have on the...
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Dan. A lot of the guests you have on, to be honest, I don't remember them from back in the day. And I start with an example is when you had the pirate guy on.
Yeah,
and he was saying how you get a game off a bulletin board, and then they'll crack it within an afternoon, and then they'll put the intro on there, and then they'll send it out to people, and I was just thinking, God, so many games I had that were, potentially sort of passed through his hands, maybe, sort of back in the day. And
I think it's because you didn't necessarily, they weren't necessarily like, there was credits obviously when you completed a game, but they weren't trumpeted on like the front of the box, were they? Whereas only like in later years when you think, oh, that game I used to love, and then you read about it on Wikipedia and you see this dude made it. And it's only at that point that I really kind of got a sense of the names sort of thing.
It's quite hard getting the pirates on as well because some of the groups are still active and stuff. So it's like
really
need to
PC games, isn't it? They do now,
that it's all void of prosecution,
A lot of them have got kind of, like I think Galahad we had on it. Isn't he like a copper or something as well in real life, or he was back then?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, the kind of.
You'd get Anonymous on for one show. That'd be good.
Oh yeah. Well, we're talking to other groups as well at the moment because we'd like to do more with Piracy. Maybe like a panel or something. A big exploration of Piracy.
Well, I think that Amiga Piracy episode is still our most popular one. I think.
Was it really?
Constantly getting hits. Yeah.
Tom Kalinski's been on, people like that. But yeah, the Piracy one is the one that I think was the first one that we had that got over, like in a week, got over about 4,000 listens in a week in our early days. And we're like, no way.
It's probably because it's like something that weirdly, anybody that had an Amiga, pretty much, I think literally everyone pirated games.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like one you might get a guest on that was that made a particular game that was popular. But that might only really appeal to perhaps people that particularly like that game. It might be a lot of people, but still. Whereas Piracy, it's kind of it's such a universal thing.
And it's like a hidden knowledge that people haven't. Yeah, they haven't talked about that stuff and how it was done. It's like magical how these discs kind of appeared.
Yeah, so that's probably why I think it's just like these. It was so prevalent. Might be one of the factors that killed the Amiga. I'm not convinced it was.
Yeah, Commodore did that, I think.
Yeah, they're no worse than any pirate. Yeah. Cool. So, Stu, you got another one?
I think that moves into the next question, actually. Well, does the Amiga, does it have a future? We're all big fans of the Amiga, and it seems to be a little sort of hobby machine, and you'll do a little bit of emulation, but then... Dan, especially when I've been watching your videos, there seems to be a lot of sort of excitement about sort of new operating systems, things like that. So, sort of hand on your heart, do you think the Amiga has a future, maybe as an operating system, or maybe, if dreams could come real, as an actual hardware piece of hardware?
Okay, I think, in all honesty, the days of it being a competitor for the mainstream platforms are well behind it now.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that it's kind of, I'd like to see the Amiga, which I think it's kind of moving into now, kind of be treated like the Commodore 64. And when people accept, its limitations and they accept it's a classic machine and they look at it from a nostalgic point of view, not trying to keep it competitive with Windows and Mac, you're not going to do that anymore. But, for me, the most exciting stuff that we've had in the last 12 months has been stuff like the Vampire Accelerator card.
Oh, it's been amazing.
Oh, which, is a development for the Amiga 600, 24-year-old machine. To me, that's kind of the appeal and the fun, people just messing around with these classic bits of hardware and kind of pushing them into places that we never thought possible back then. And to me, that's where the fun and excitement comes from. And I think there is a big future in terms of new add-ons and new ways of using these old machines. I don't think it's been fully explored yet. In terms of it, being like, back in Curry's in a couple of years, I don't think that'll ever happen.
No, I think it's a hobbyist thing at the moment. But it'll be a big community. I see the community growing, and maybe that'll introduce some kind of little product where, you've got all the games available and like a little mini NAS or something, but a smaller Amiga. But I don't think it will be. Yeah, I don't think it will be massive, but I think it could be successful.
Yeah, I think the great thing about these guys that make these accelerator boards now, a lot of that stuff was inaccessible to certainly to me as like just a teenager. When I had an Amiga, in the 90s, I didn't have £300 that I could drop on an 030 sort of accelerator card. But now these guys are coming out with, like individual computers, like sort of £100 accelerators that you can now drop in.
I think
great
software's always hold it back though. The Amiga. There's always good hardware coming out, and it's just not got the software behind it. Like the new operating systems, they don't have killer titles and stuff, and I don't think they're going to come back. So
no,
it's
there's
just
no
for
real...
people to fiddle with now. Really,
it's kind of become like an indie sort of gaming. There's no really not going to get EA making like a game for it, which is weird. 'Cause pretty much what they started on, actually, wasn't it? Like Commodore platform. So yeah.
Well, in
DMA
terms of
design.
game release,
Yeah.
this year's actually been pretty good for Amiga game releases. I mean, start beginning of the year, Tanks Fury, which Ravi and I did a video on actually, and there's a game called Amiga Racers come out, and there's kind of loads of shoot 'em ups that are being made at the moment. And I don't know if you guys have seen these unofficial CD32 compilations as well. They're churning like 2 of them out a month at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny because I say now that the CD32 is actually my favourite Amiga because I just think it's for couch gaming. I think it's the best one because you can plonk it next to your telly. You could sit, you could sit away from it. You can stick a CD in. You haven't got to worry about swapping out discs or anything. And if you just want to, laze around in front of the telly, it's great for that. And like you mentioned, Dan, the compilations you can. There was an 888 one and a 444. And like 900 games nearly of of Amiga games that you've got on one CD. So I think it's actually more useful now than it was in like 1993 when it was like still a relevant platform.
Well, I downloaded a Christmas compilation they just released this week. It's like all the Amiga Christmas demos and games all on one CD-ROM.
Oh yeah.
So, this looks really cool. Like sit down and have a few games on that with a drink over Christmas.
So
Christmas Lemmings.
Yeah, they're all on there.
Yeah,
basically all the ones are on Amiga format, wasn't it? They do those little special Christmas like editions of things.
Was there ever a Sensible Soccer where you played as Santa or anything?
I remember there was Canon Soccer they did on Amiga format Christmas cover disc.
Yeah, there was a Sensible Soccer versus Bulldog Blighty, I think, was there as well. The same thing with a different name, but yeah,
it could have been.
They were good at that. Sensible Software at those sort of little mini games they'd put on there.
Yeah, they should have done Syndicate Soccer. That would have been
Monkey Island Soccer.
Yeah,
you have to swap 7 discs out just to be able to have a shot on goal. So one thing that's kind of, I guess we might have touched on it a little bit already, but one question I wanted to fire at you guys was, if you could change one part of a video game company's history, what would it be? So it could be anybody, Commodore, Sega, Nintendo, whoever.
For me, it would be Sega in the early 90s. That era when the 32X and the Mega CD and all that came. I understand why they made those add-ons, and obviously then the tragedy kind of continued with the Saturn. I mean, for me, I love the Amiga, but in terms of consoles, I've always been a big Sega fanboy. Me too. They're in my all-time favorite machines. So it's kind of I do still kind of feel the gap of Sega not being in the hardware market.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking, wasn't it, when Sonic came out on the GameCube? I was just like, oh.
Yeah, never thought you'd see the day.
Still haven't recovered.
I'm going to say Atari, actually. Like the Jaguar.
Oh,
cool. If they could have got better on that, it would have been really good. And I think the Lynx had a lot of potential as well.
Yeah,
The Lynx was an amazing machine. It almost had like a Mode 7 sort of graphics, sort of similar to SNES,
wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a powerful little machine, and I don't think people really give it sort of that much credit because
Well, if you play Blue Lightning, that's the game that really shows it off. I think Blue Lightning is like an Afterburner clone, and it's actually got amazing scaling and blows anything else away on even the Super Nintendo. That was a great example.
I think I've got that on the Jaguar CD.
Oh,
they did like a sequel. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Is it the same? Have you played it?
Not for long.
I would have basically put quality control in Atari. So for games coming out, they would have actually been tested and seen if they were rubbish.
Ravi, that just wastes important time. Just testing games. You just got to get them out.
Well, there was actually
Highlander and all that.
One heartbreaking story that we heard. It was off, Mr. Biffo, who used to write Digitizer.
Oh, Digitizer, yeah.
He was telling us he went to the Atari Jaguar's UK launch, and he was there with a bunch of journalists, and they literally all burst out laughing at the games they were showing on the screen. And the sales guy from Atari was getting really annoyed.
Yeah, they were all getting really angry, all the stuff.
They're kind of Amiga ports, weren't they, mostly? Was it because it was 68 sort of K based, wasn't it? So I guess they thought, we'll just slap a bunch of...
Oh, I think it was weird because they ported a lot of Atari games to Amiga, just direct ports.
Yeah, I think it's because the architecture was similar, but I don't know. We don't really know how powerful it really was. I mean, you had some polygon-based games, didn't we? We got the Checkered Flag, I think, was one.
I mean,
I think it was hard to code for, wasn't it? All the different processors. You know?
It had like 3 processors in there, but I mean, the way it was designed, it did have a Motorola 68K on board. But then, you know, I think developers soon realized rather than coding for like, you know, back then doing multi-processor coding was quite, you know, unheard of. So I think a lot of them thought, well, we'll just do the 68K. You know, we can transfer a Mega Drive game over to it rather than doing the rest, and you know, the job's done in like a month rather than like a year.
I was actually chatting to a mate about sort of, you know, consoles that have failed, and he sort of said, "Oh yeah, the one that always does it. It's if they have like really difficult to program." And I'm like, "Well, not necessarily. The PS2 was insanely difficult to program, but that's the highest-selling console of all time. So I think the Commodore 64 was quite a challenge as well. That did well. So it's not always.
I think if it's worth it, developers will. But yeah, I think with the Jaguar, they obviously saw, you know, sales after a few months, and were like, yeah, we won't bother at all. I mean, think back then. I mean, a new console was coming out every 3 months back in the kind
it was.
90s.
It was just difficult for people to sort of know which one to buy. The 3DO, the CD32, the Jaguar, and then on the horizon
CDI as well.
Oh god, the CDI.
Well, there's an argument there was a second Crash. That was actually a second sort of video game crash in the mid-90s where it just killed so many, you know, these sort of upstarts that came in, 3DO and all that. And well, it also didn't kill the industry completely, although the first one didn't really. I think it gets a bit exaggerated, doesn't it, with the Atari and the ET sort of desert burying thing and all that. But yeah,
PlayStation came along and saved it, really, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like the Nintendo of like sort of the first Crash, wasn't it? I guess. Yeah. Stu, you got another one?
I have. Hold on. Unlock my phone.
Oh god.
Okay.
We're looking really professional in front of these guys now.
I'm just dialing in. Dialing in.
If you heard it live.
Oh damn! Should have used the Hangout then, should we?
What is the future for the Retro Hour?
Ooh.
There you go. I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, we're moving into 2017, which obviously coming up in January is going to be our first birthday. Well, we are doing a Christmas special in a couple of weeks, which is going to be the first, what will hopefully be an annual Retro Hour super quiz at Christmas, which should be fun.
Yes,
with sound effects. It's going to be great.
I've got my glittery jacket ready. But into 2017, I think, you know, just kind of continue where we started this year. Hopefully keep attracting, you know, the big name guests to the show, and let more people find out about it, and just kind of maintain the quality that we've had. And, you know, again, I mean, it's like anything you do. We started doing the podcast back in January. If I listen back to our early episodes now, you kind of cringe a little bit. And I think we've come on quite a long way in the first year. And I think, you know, probably a year down the line from now, we'll feel the same about what we're doing at the moment. Hopefully it'll keep improving.
Yeah, we'll be going to events as well. I'm going to Amiga Island in January.
Oh wow,
it's going to be pretty cool.
And be an island in the middle of nowhere or something. That's just has Amigas.
Yeah,
that's
in the Caribbean,
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to try and get more listeners, and the way to do that is share it and spread it. So do stuff like this.
Cool. I mean, have you thought of doing like a video kind of? Obviously, we talked about how we kind of started off a video and we've gone it the other way. I mean, have you thought about maybe doing the occasional video sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we might be looking at it with our Christmas quiz, because the studio we're recording has actually got video capabilities in there. The only problem with doing our show is when we get the guests on as well, it's kind of, you know, we could do the news bit as a video easy enough, but then trying to capture and, you know, the Skype output and that kind of thing, and not everyone has cameras, and that could be a bit more problematic.
We were thinking of cutting it up, maybe doing, you know, little sections of video news for each story and uploading it slowly throughout the week or something.
Yeah, it's like there's one channel I watch. You guys might watch. I mean, Stuart, big fans of Review Tech USA.
Yeah, big fan of him.
Yeah, he's kind of doing a weird thing though, where he's got into a spell of just showing his face, and this which is fine. But I'll put the gameplay.
A little while ago, he did a video and he did it with his shirt off, because he lost the bets or something. Oh, dude, come on. No.
To get his shirt out.
Please.
Yeah. He talks about his nipples a bit too much.
I know.
He does,
cucumbers. I'm like, oh, God, no.
You guys aren't tempted to do that at all? The nipples and the cucumbers?
No.
And I think at one point as well, we're going to try and do something with Game City Festival in Nottingham, because we did that this year. I'm like DJing with my Amigas. Like mixing.
Oh wow! Yeah, you did a stream, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing lots more of that as well. I'm loaning out my PC at the moment, so I wait for that to come back and do a Christmas mix and stuff.
Cool.
But also, in terms of getting out to shows and stuff too, I mean, we've been to all the big kind of gaming shows, and we've kind of built up some contacts at them. And what would be nice, maybe one of the bigger gaming shows would either to be a live, do a live episode in front of a crowd.
I
think would be really cool.
Pat the Nez Punk, well, they all do it, don't they? There's also retro gaming shows. They do a panel sort of thing.
So that's something we would like to do.
Also, hooking up with the other podcasts as well, because every time we've gone to a show, we've missed all the other podcasts. Like last time we got stuck in traffic when they were recording a show together. It's a disaster. Yeah,
conspiring against you a little bit there. It's weird actually, because we don't really have we've been London based, but there's not really a lot of like retro gaming like festival show type things. There's the London gaming market. I mean, Stu, you put on stuff, and you've got like an upper floor in your shop, and
we've done a few Amiga nights there. Where, to be honest, we've done 2 now, and we've got about sort of 10 to 15 people, and it's, to be honest, I've just enjoyed sitting around and playing on the Amiga. And this guy, I think Chris Palmer, he brings in a load of Amiga 500s, and they've all got the WHD load, and I don't know the pen drives on the side of them, and we just play loads of different games, and it's really good fun. But I just think it's, in the south of England, I can really think of one show, and that's down in Margate.
There's that one.
But it's like none in London, and you know, and I think there should be.
It's kind of frustrating because I'm from the Midlands. I'm from Leicester, but you guys have everything down there, it seems.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're in Nottingham, and then Wolverhampton, you get Replay there, and then Manchester's only about an hour and a half drive for us, and you get Play over there, and Blackpool's like another half an hour on from there. So it just seemed like a lot of the activity just tends to happen in the Midlands or the North. But yeah, it's bizarre. There's not bigger shows in London. You think, being the capital, it would be a logical place to do it. Maybe it's too expensive to put shows on there. I'm not sure.
To be honest, I think that's the answer. It's easy enough to rent a hall at a race course or something when they're not doing any horse racing, and make that work. But I can imagine to rent any sort of huge space in London, it's just it'll be
there's no
huge expense.
Sort of cheap, family run.
Yeah, no guarantee on numbers either. So they kind of have to guess and go for it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but
So,
go on, sorry.
I always watch those on YouTube. You get these sort of the American YouTubers, and they always go, I'm going out to PAX East, and I'm going out to,
I'm so jealous.
Some great, the Portland Retro Gaming Show. And you see the videos, you think, oh, God, that looks amazing. And I love to go there and just...
I'm going to Coventry Racecourse.
Racecourse, yeah.
Stuck a bunch of games to a racehorse.
Yeah.
It's the Game Chasers are big on that. But it's funny, when I watch their episodes where they go to an event, I don't actually enjoy them as much as the ones where they just go into some flea market. I guess because they all tend to all meet up with the other YouTubers. They have all their little in-jokes and camaraderie. Which to an extent is kind of entertaining, but then I want to see, just go, I want you to find some games, damn it, So it's kind of a mixed bag sometimes when those guys sort of film their sort of little, excursions. I prefer kind of just the game hunting bits, but yeah.
Well, I do think for us as well, I mean, we've been going to retro shows probably for about 3 years now, and, been going to at least 2 or 3 a year. And I think, the ones that I've been to have definitely improved, and, in terms of numbers and the kind of stuff that's there, and the titles you can buy, and they do seem to be a lot more popular now. Every year we go, there's new faces there. What's quite cool as well is, when we were at Play, for example, a lot of the crowd there would be like people in the late teens and early 20s. It's not like all old farts playing Space Invaders.
Yeah,
so it's not actually. Yeah,
sorry. A few years ago, I used to go to shows like 10 years ago, and I've got all these old videos that I've been putting on my YouTube channel, and as I put them up, you'll see that the shows get smaller and smaller because there's less people there. And there was literally 10 or 11 and all the girlfriends at the side. And now we're going to shows and there's like thousands. It's really insane.
Yeah, I guess YouTube has helped it, right? I suppose a lot of people see these shows and they think, I want to go to those.
Because we get... Talking about my shop, Playnation Games.
Here he goes.
Here we go. He's an advert. No, we do get when it comes to the retro games, we get loads of people in their 40s coming in, you know, looking through Spectrum games and whatnot. But we do get, you know, kids who are 11 and 12, and the parents come, all he wants to do is play Mega Drive games. Then every week he'll come in with his pocket money, and then he'll buy another Mega Drive game. And you're like, you know, do you not want to be playing, you know, Xbox 360 games, you know, PS4 games? Oh, no. This is what he likes, and
wicked,
and it's just amazing, and you know, there's a real, you know, people they just love the games, and you know, I don't want to use a cliche, but they're just really timeless. And I think the only ones that probably aren't, well, to me, the Atari 2600 games. I don't have much time for them, but other than that. Yeah,
well, you know, I get them on YouTube as well when I do videos about like the N64 and the Super Nintendo and that kind of thing. I often get messages off people, even the Amiga. You know, people are saying, you know, I was too young when it first came out. I haven't got much experience with it. Where should I start? You know, what's kind of, is there any emulators I can try? So there's definitely an interest in it. I think because really we were probably the first kind of people that were into retro gaming. You know, because we grew up with our kind of generation. So the younger ones that are coming through now maybe were born when the Xbox 360, you know, was the main console. They're kind of looking back at like what was before it, then where did this come from?
Yeah. And to me, it's because a lot of the kids come in and they've watched a YouTube video and they'll come in like, oh, have you got Alien Soldier on the Mega Drive? I said, no, we get that in once a year, and then when we have it, it's £100, you know. And you just see their faces drop, and it's also, it sort of comes down to, you know, that's why I think, you know, my shop, you know, we make our money selling, you know, retro rare computer games, but where you just said about emulation, it's a great place to get into. You know, you can easily, you know, make a retro Pi, or you know, do them on your PC, or there's so many different ways to play all of these old games now. And you know, and I'm not precious, and I'd say, yeah, get out there. As long as you're playing the games, then that's great, you know.
You mentioned the Raspberry Pi then. That is an amazing platform. I mean, you know, in terms of like current systems that are developed, you know, the Pi is on my YouTube channel as well. You know, my Raspberry Pi videos are among my most popular ones.
It's got an easier thing.
I've watched them. Yeah.
Oh, it's just such a fun platform. So much you can do with it. It's kind of like it's kind of like a reinvention of that, you know, 80s kind of hacking system, you know, machine that you buy just to use a computer and see what you can do with it, rather than having like a machine that you just browse the web with. Yeah,
like closed kind of, you know, Macs, which were closed that you couldn't get inside and play with. There was that kind of culture of not getting inside your computer and messing about with it. But Raspberry Pi's brought that back, and it's kind of great for kids as well. You know, they're getting it all at school. Have you seen this microbit machine?
Yeah. It's amazing how small it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like £9.
Magazine.
No, this is one that they've given to schools for free.
Right, cool.
And they're going to release it to the public, but every school's got one, and it's like a little microbit thing. I think it's £4 actually.
And the kids can take them home, can't they? They keep them.
Yeah, they get their own computer to basically play with and hack and do whatever.
You know, I always feel that I was kind of born about sort of 10 years too late, because when I was sort of, you know, a kid and then a teenager, IT was basically learning Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
With the occasional, we had, like when I was in primary school, we did have a BBC Micro, which, you know, by then would have been like, you know, a good 6-7 years old already. And we did a little bit of the logo, you know, programming.
Yeah.
And then they got an Archimedes. But I don't think we even used that. We just used that for just word processing and stuff like that. It wasn't even used for programming. So, and then when I went to sort of high school, it was basically Microsoft Office. And it wasn't until I went to uni, you know, that I started learning any kind of hardcore coding, and that was like action scripting in Flash. But now they've kind of realised that there's, you know, that might mean there'll be a big gap of, you know, there won't really be any, you know, game companies forming in the UK, because there's no one that got brought up with it. But I think they've kind of fixed it with these, with the Raspberry Pi and all that. I think it looks like we're probably going to have a big, in 20 years, we'll have all these sort of startups cropping up, or probably already actually, with programmers with the maybe DMA design on the way.
It's a similar model to what they did in India. In India, they basically trained loads of people on IT, and then suddenly all the call centers or the tech support suddenly started going to India, and they weren't really investing in IT in England, and now they've started doing it again. So hopefully we'll be getting lots more IT industry here.
Yeah, well, it's brought by bedroom programmers again, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's where the most creative ideas come from.
Yeah, we did this in the early 80s with the BBC Micro, and they put the TV show on Micro Live and all that stuff. And then that gave us, all these great companies that sprung up in bedrooms and became DMA Design and, and all that all those sort of guys. So, yeah, it's kind of, hopefully it's going to come back again.
Yeah, new era.
Yeah, yeah. So, obviously, I'm conscious we're sort of pushing an hour now. So, I've got a couple more that I do want to throw at you, though.
No problem.
So, it's probably a bit of a hardcore one, but favourite video game of all time?
Oh, God.
Put you on the spot.
This changes by the day.
Syndicate for me.
Oh, cool.
Syndicate by far. Yeah, I love it.
Is that the Xbox 360 version of Syndicate you're talking about? Yeah.
I've never touched the 360 first person shooter.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm playing Satellite Rain at the moment, which is a new version of Syndicate.
Oh, you got the same top-down kind of three-quarter.
Yeah. It's for the PC. Yeah. It's just come out of beta, and it's really, really good. They can't use the Syndicate name because EA's got it, but it is essentially the new version of it. And I used to play American Revolt as well, which was like the add-on pack. And,
it got ported to everything, didn't it? As well, it was on the Mega Drive and the Jaguar. I think got a version of Syndicate.
Yeah. Syndicate Wars on the PlayStation. As well.
The sequel. Yeah.
Cool. Good. I love the whole storyline and the kind of cyberpunk
kind of Blade Runner-y
style. Yeah. And the free roam, it's the first game where you could run around and shoot pedestrians. It was great.
For me, it's I think adventure games were really where I really fell in love with gaming. But when I was a kid, and in terms Monkey Island 2 would probably like I said, my favourite game of all time changes by the day, but Monkey Island 2 is definitely up there. And also, I think the first kind of cinematic game I ever played was probably Another World.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's just a stunning game, and one that I can play time and time again.
Like an interactive movie, wasn't it? Really. Yeah,
that intro, the fact that they fit that on a floppy disk, it's like 5 minutes long, isn't it?
Delphine, wasn't it? Yeah, and they did a flashback, which was also
French
amazing.
Publisher. Yeah.
Fade to Black was good as well. I enjoyed that. I've got that on the PS1 still. I dig that out every now and then. That's got the sequel to Flashback.
Yeah, 3D one, isn't it? I wasn't such a big fan of that, but maybe I need to give it a bit more time.
It was a bit clunky because it was sort of early days of 3D kind of third-person sort of games, so the controls are a bit finicky, but it's worth it. And they actually remade it, didn't they, on Steam? I think on Xbox Live, the original Flashback.
Yeah, that wasn't
try that.
So that didn't work very well. I didn't think.
I've been tempted to try it, so you don't think it's any good?
No, I've got it on Xbox 360. I think I played it for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was playing it and decided I'd rather play the original, so I turned it off.
They can't be doing it right if that's what it does, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Stu, what about you?
Oh, my favourite game is The Settlers. I think everyone knows that.
Nice.
Yeah, Settlers. I just played that for... It was one of those games. It was good because you get to a stage of it, and then you could just turn your TV off, go to bed, go to school, go out for the day, come back, and you had loads of gold and all these resources and things like that. And that's what I think I just loved about how long it sort of took and to build everything up, and then you'll, go and attack the other players and things like that. So that was my type of game. And I was just thinking to myself the other day that sort of Settlers, Age of Empires, things like that, I just don't play that type of game anymore. And it just doesn't seem to be I do a lot of my gaming on the next gen consoles or the current gen consoles, and
they're called sort of 4X games, aren't they? Like exploration and whatever
the
other ones are. But Civilization is the only one, isn't it? Really, it's still kind of going.
Civ 6 I think I'd like to go back and play them.
Yeah. I mean, Civ 5 I played about 2 or 3 months ago. I thought I'll have a little go. I ended up playing it for about 6 hours straight. But it's hard. It's a lot of admin. It's just admin. It's like a game where you're just doing admin. But it's enjoyable. But yeah, 6 I haven't tried. I'll want to give it a go.
Yeah, I'm going to lock myself in a room and play 6 for like a week and come out with a beard.
Yeah. So I have to cheat a little bit. I've got a couple. I'm kind of like Dan, it kind of changes. I've got like a top 10 that kind of is quite fluid, but probably I would have to say what Sensible World of Soccer is probably number 1. Still the best football game like ever made. The career mode is just, it's kind of the perfect career mode, like Championship Manager and all that. I find there's way too much admin. I don't like spending ages in menus. Plus, it's football. I want to play the game of football, not watch it on a computer screen. So being able to combine the career bits with the game, and this was the game was just great as well, the actual gameplay. And that's probably just behind that would be Frontier Elite 2, I think, on the Amiga. Just it blew my mind for playing a game where you could basically do anything you want. There was no real storyline. You're just given a ship and 100 credits, and you just like have at it. And I used to probably hundreds of hours I put into that. I actually got to the rank of Dangerous, which is I think 2 below Elite. Yeah, and I read online how many kills you had to make to get that, and it was like 6,000 or something. So I killed 6,000 people in Frontier, but yeah.
I've always wanted to get into Frontier, but it's we went back before, talking about piracy. I did have a pirate copy without the manual, so I never really learned how to play it when I was a kid. I'd learned it up to watch that introduction animation, though. That always blew my mind when I was young. Yeah,
I mean, if you look at it now, it's about 1 frame a second, isn't it, at points? But,
not on the vampire.
Just smooth as hell, isn't it? Well, it's funny because like you could get like on the PC, the Frontier First Encounters, which is the sequel to Elite 2, Elite 3. You could still get that somewhere like there's like a group of people that have put it into like DirectX, and you can run it on a modern Windows 10 computer, and it works perfectly. And so you can, I think it's free. You can just go on there with their site. I think David Braben just released the game to the wild. Obviously, he's got Elite Dangerous now, which I also play a little bit. So yeah, you can give that a go. And it's all the graphics have been upgraded. Textures are on everything now, and you can get high res planet, models and all that stuff. So you can really have at it if you want.
Well, I know Lemon Amiga actually put a few videos up. I don't know if you saw them, but it's actually kind of a tutorial on how to play Frontier. And they're quite long. They're probably about 3 or 4 hours long, but maybe over Christmas I'll give it a watch and finally get into it.
I'll give you a few tips, Dan. I still know the best trade run that will get you tons of credits, and you'll be going around blowing people up like the best of them. I used to love getting passengers and pretending you're going to take them to their planet and then ejecting them into space, scooping them up, and then selling them as animal meat, which is telling myself, I'm a good person. This is a video game. Yeah,
I can't even take up in the game, so you've got quite a lot.
Next one, probably it's the last one actually. So I didn't want to say top one of this, so I've gone for top 3, but top 3 console/computers. So who wants to fire away first?
Oh, I let Dan.
Go on, Ravi. I'm thinking.
All right, top 3. Okay.
That's been any order.
First, it's got to be the Amiga.
Yep.
And that'll be the Amiga 4000, which is
right.
Oh,
nice
Ravi, you show off.
My dad used to basically run the art department at university, and they had all 4000s there. It was amazing. And they chucked them out one day. So we were driving by, and there was a big stack of them, and we were like, okay, we'll have them. And I've had one ever since a kid. And
I started to drool over the advert for it in the remember Silica, the company used to always put an advert in like a Amiga shopper. They had a big old page of the Amiga 4000. It was like, was it $1,000 and a bit or something?
It was about $2,500, I think.
Yeah. I'll never be able to afford one of them. I can't even afford now, I don't think.
I finally got one last year,
I saw
2 years ago. Yeah, so
you lucky
git. It's next to me.
And what was it? Top 3.
Yeah.
Top 3. Okay, and second will be the Dreamcast.
Awesome.
I love that machine. It's so much fun, and the quality that you can get out, like 480i, which is amazing for a Sega console. So it's
it looks great.
Output.
I mean, the PS2 is terrible for its video output. It can do basically, I think you can do RGB.
You do component too on the PS2, can't you?
Yeah, you can do component. There's no VGA, I don't think. So they're not great. Dreamcast was great for that kind of different outputs.
Yeah, and the third, I'd probably say PlayStation 1. I have to go with that, because I got one of those, and the first game I got was Micro Machines V3.
Oh, that was great, yeah.
That was great fun, yeah. I don't know why people don't talk about that version.
They barely changed it, did they, from Micro Machines 1 and 2? It was the same gameplay, really.
Yeah, it just had a little 3D perspective. It was really nice. Yeah, and I got that chipped, and my dad was like, don't get it chipped. And I got it chipped, and it broke instantly.
That's what the software company's getting you back.
Yeah. That's why you're looking at your dad.
Yeah, I should have done the swap trick.
Right, my top 3. Well, I'm going to go with Amiga 1200 for my my first choice. I did get an A500 first, but the 1200 was a machine that I spent most time with and spent the most on upgrades for back in the day. So the 1200 would be my favorite Amiga model.
Cool.
Sega Mega Drive, I'm going to go with as well. Just Ravi mentioned the Dreamcast, which is a close second, but I think in terms of fond memories and a system I spent the most time with, the Mega Drive would probably just pip the Dreamcast.
Cool.
And even now I've got an EverDrive for my Mega Drive, so having all the games on there and playing Streets of Rage and stuff like that, it's still an amazing system.
I've got a SNES one. Yeah, they're great, those EverDrives.
Oh, it's like I'm not a big kind of game collector. I just want to play the games.
Yeah.
And in terms of not having to take up shelves of storage, those EverDrives are just brilliant. And if you want a game that some of the rare games are like hundreds of pounds if you get them on eBay, but being able to go and play them is pretty awesome.
I always keep an eye out for Mega Man: The Wily Wars on the Mega Drive, which is probably one of the most rarest games. But people are even selling reproductions for like 500 quid.
Wow.
Reproduction, yeah. Yeah.
And my third system would be Xbox 360.
Oh,
good
cool.
choice.
Yeah, which was it was kind of like I mentioned before. I took a break from gaming for a few years. That was kind of the machine that got me back into video games and kind of made me rediscover my passion for them. And I've got about 3 Xbox 360s at the moment, and still an amazing system. And I've got an Xbox One, a PS4, but I still find myself going back to games on the 360. I thought it was a brilliant console.
Yeah, how many 360s did you go through, Dan?
I've had about 8, I think, in the last 10 years.
Yeah, me and Stu, we were chatting about Xboxes, weren't we, on a couple of shows ago, and I've got like 3 of them at the moment. But yeah, it's like I think if there was like IGN often do like top 10 consoles of all time, didn't they? And those sort of like big video game journalism sites. So I think now if you did one right now, top 10, I think Xbox 360 would probably get in the top 5 now. I think.
No, easy, yeah.
Yeah. Stu?
I'm going to go for the Amiga 1200. That was my pride and joy, and all those years ago. And I had a CD-ROM drive for it, and
nice.
I had,
who's the show off now?
Yeah, I see. Do you know what? It had some really tatty wire coming out the side of it.
IDE cable.
Yeah, the IDE cable, and it was some sort of, I don't know, it looked like it was some dodgy sort of PC CD-ROM, and it was sort of plugged into, and it wasn't sort of the neatest of sort of systems, but no, I really did enjoy playing it. And I think at one point I actually got the Amiga monitor, or maybe a Philips monitor, and that would get a really sort of nice crisp image. So that was my sort of favourite machine. I'm going to go for the Sega Saturn for my second one.
Nice.
Now I've got in my, well, God, we're doing a bit of moving around in the flat at the moment, but in my sort of spare room, I've got the Hitachi Saturn, the one where it came originally. What's that? Sorry,
is it the
High Saturn? Yeah. And it comes with a video card. So talking about sort of weird video formats, so I can play VCDs.
They're good quality, aren't they? They're really high quality.
You still buy them in Japan, apparently.
You can, yeah. Techbone did a video about that, and do you know what? I wouldn't say VCDs are the best quality in the world. 240p,
isn't it? I think it literally is 240p.
Yeah. It's
VHS.
I think it was maybe the one of the dodgy sort of copies we sort of tested it with wasn't the best copy in the world. So I think if I got actually a machine or a factory made VCD, it may be a little bit better.
Yeah.
You're probably watching on a HD TV though, aren't you? Which is going to upscale.
Exactly. I was watching it on the wrong TV.
You need like a dirty old CRT.
Exactly. But I just like a lot of the Japanese games, like the 2D shooters, the fighting games that came on there, the brawlers, stuff like that. And that was sort of my second machine. And I think my third one, I want to say the 360, but you've already said that, so I'm going to say the Game Boy. That's what I had at school, and yeah, really enjoyed it, and it was a good little machine to sort of play on, and for the fact that it was just black and white, it was very immersive. So my 3 choices. So Trev, what were yours?
Yeah, well, that's actually already been said, but I'll try and put a different spin on them. So one is the Amiga 500. I mean, the 2 all-time favourite games, Elite and Sensible Soccer are on there. And yeah, it's just introduced me to computers doing things that you could do on a console. It was just so versatile, and lots of really fond memories of all the games. The getting discs really easily. When before I was forced to pay £40 a pop for things. So yeah, Amiga 500, I think 2 Dreamcast. So same reasons as Dan. Really, I'm a big Sega fanboy. I think it's got the best kind of sort of quality game to amount of game ratio of probably any console. I mean, there's like 300 games. I think it's 298 PAL games, but there's dozens and dozens of really, really good games. And it was in the kind of a golden age of Sega's kind of creativity when you got these really left field games like Crazy Taxi and Virtua Tennis and things like that were never really came out of nowhere and were brilliant. Jet Set Radio, and obviously Shenmue is one of my all-time
all the
favorites.
basketball games as well and stuff for that were amazing.
Yeah, they're still going, isn't it? The NBA 2K series is still going. It started on the Dreamcast. We had the only real 2 decent 3D Sonic games. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. It's rapidly downhill, isn't it, since then?
I've got the latest one on the Wii U. Yeah, it's not worth a buy.
Oh no!
I've had the one with update because Sonic Blue.
Wasn't that your Christmas present from your girlfriend?
Yeah, well, she's in the next room, so I'll give it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Power Stone was good as well.
Yeah,
Power Stone, yeah.
Marvel vs. Marvel vs. Capcom ended up on a few other platforms, but it was on the Dreamcast on its own for quite a while. Had a really good Street Fighter 3 version, a couple of Street Fighter 3s. Weird ones like Dynamite Cop. That was a great game.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it was it's the sequel to Die Hard Arcade on the Saturn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like a scrolling kind of 3D beat 'em up. Really good. So yeah, House of the Dead had a really good gun. The gun was great that came with the Dreamcast. It wouldn't work now, unfortunately, with HDTVs, but if you could dig out a CRT.
It was like having an arcade in your house, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, it was the Naomi, wasn't it? It was the arcade version of the... Yeah. It was just a Dreamcast. I think it had a bit more RAM, but the games would come across identically, Dead or Alive. And I used to use it a lot for the internet. We had a fairly naff PC in those days. So when I got a Dreamcast, it was actually quite a little bit more powerful than the PC we had. So I used to log on to Dream Arena, as it was called, that weird sort of flash-based sort of portal for Dreamcast users, and play Choo Choo Rocket a lot on that with its terrible lag. And I got the keyboard, which a lot of people is quite sought after. I think people keep telling me the keyboard now. And 3, again, Ravi, I'm with you with the PlayStation 1. It's funny because I had N64 first. I got that before the PlayStation. So I was kind of all N64's better. But then I think the PlayStation finally dropped down to about 100 quid around sort of 97. And I managed to get hold of a PlayStation. And the games, initially, it was just the games are cheaper and there was just way more of them. Like Tekken, Ridge Racer, Gran Turismo, Metal Gear Solid, one of my top 10 favorite games ever. It's just way more games and way more variety.
I was burning games today. Playing Pandemonium. That was one.
Pandemonium's great. The sequel was good as well. Tomb Raider, of course, as well. That actually started on the Saturn originally, as you guys touched upon, actually, didn't you, in one of your shows?
We bumped into the original one.
Oh, the original model, yeah.
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 Ravi's been talking about that for about 3 months now. Every day.
Well, do you play the new ones?
Yeah.
I've got them on the PC.
Yeah, I just funny enough on the PC. I just finished Rise of the Tomb Raider. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, it takes a lot from Uncharted, but then you could argue that there probably wouldn't be Uncharted if it wasn't Tomb Raider in the first place. So,
they're some of the best next gen games I've played. Those Tomb Raider ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a murder fest, isn't it? When you think about it, sort of you kill about several thousand people by the end of it, as like Lara Croft. But no, they're absolutely great.
It's split up well with kind of sections of exploring and kind of crafting and then fighting as well. Yeah,
they've done a really good job with that. I mean, it was a danger it could end up being Gears of War. Well, Stuart didn't hear anything negative about Gears of War.
No, that's the best game series there's ever been.
You dress up as Marcus Phoenix, don't you? And,
I always get mistaken for him, actually.
Cool. Well, I guess I think we got through all of our questions. I think. Stu, you got anything else?
No, just want to
these
say,
guys finally get back to their families.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking an hour and a half out of your Thursday night, and
yeah, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, our pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah, it's great. And, we should pop down one day and see.
Yeah.
you know, come down to the shop and, you know, make sure you bring lots of money. And
yeah, hold back the CD32 stuff for us.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think if we got any. I'm sure we have.
Ravi's trying to get a full collection of CD32.
Yeah, yeah.
God.
I've got about a third of the games now, but I've got stuff like Flink boxed and quite expensive ones. So I've got all the crap expensive games at the moment.
I actually tried. It got a version of Frontier Elite 2, funny enough, and I was like, how could you play that with just a joypad? But they actually map the controls really well. You have to like sort of hold up an A to do a like lower your landing gear or something. It actually works.
Was that an official release? Was it?
Yeah. Frontier Elite 2. Yeah, it came in a big box.
Yeah, I've got that. It's got the giant map.
Yeah, it's got the map. Yeah,
full manual, everything. Yeah,
there was a lot of CD32 games that just came in a regular Amiga big box, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was quite about half the releases were like that, but then they also had weird shaped cases and stuff.
Yeah,
all different kinds of releases.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it'd be wicked, guys. If you want to pop down, we'll do another show or something down there, or just to hang out. That'd be amazing. I'm sure we could be up for sorting another Amiga night. It'll just be 10 of us or something. Or like, on the previous one. Yeah, just do a lock in, get a few beers in, pizza. I think that's what we need, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys. Check out Ravi and Dan's podcast, The Retro Hour. It's on iTunes, Stitcher. What else are you on these days, guys?
Oh,
YouTube.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Pocket Cast.
Wow, you've got everywhere, haven't you? Spreading everywhere. So yeah, basically any sort of podcast downloading platform, you're probably going to see them on there, Retro Hour. And check out their individual channels as well. Ravi and Dan have both got their own YouTube channels. So, is it just searching for your names, guys, or have you got?
Yeah, search Dan Wood, you'll find me.
Yeah,
just Ravi Abbott. Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Excellent. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.